Hello, my name is Michael Raziel, and today my incredibly special guest. I have four-time Paralympic athlete Rudy Garcia-Tolson. He is a two-time gold medal winner. He is a two-time silver medal winner and a bronze medalist at the Paralympic Games. Rudy, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing well. A little hot out here in Southern California, but we're surviving.
I was gonna say, boo-hoo, you're in Southern California. Life must be difficult. But Rudy, very excited to get to chat with you today a little bit about what this extra year, waiting for Tokyo for an extra year, what it's gonna be like. But tell me a little bit about your backstory, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. So I am 31 years old now, and I was living full time in New York City. And with the pandemic happening and the postponement of the Olympic and Paralympic Games, I've decided to make a go for it and relocate. So I'm currently in Southern California, and I, as you said, am a Paralympic athlete. I am also the first double above the knee amputee to finish an Ironman triathlon, which I did in 2009. Took me 16 hours and 6 minutes, so a very long day. But sports has really been my life since I was very young. And for me, my story did not start with the goal of going to the Paralympics or traveling around the world. It really started with one goal in mind, and that was to beat a kid with legs. That's all I wanted to do. So for me, when I was born with multiple birth defects. And my biggest challenge was that my legs were webbed at the knee. So if you can imagine the way you're sitting down, I was never fully able to stretch my leg out and walk, but also stand and balance. And so it was confined to a wheelchair. At birth, the doctors told my parents that we should amputate my legs through the knee, and I might have a better chance at potentially using prosthetic legs. I might have a better chance at mobility of being a kid. And my parents refused to have my legs amputated when I was born because they didn't want me to come back and question their decision. So I went through about 15 operations from when I was born till 5 years old. I realized that the best route, I think, would be to have my legs amputated through the knee. And so I remember when I was 5 years old, I remember telling my parents that I wanted to have my legs amputated and I wanted to try to live with prosthetic legs. And I think with me being okay with that, it really gave my parents the strength to go ahead and have my legs amputated. I had my legs amputated. And one of the first sports that I got into when I was young was swimming. And I chose swimming for one. My dad suggested that I learn how to swim since I live in Southern California. But also, I didn't need to wear legs in the pool. And for me, that was the deal breaker. Because at the time, my first pairs of legs for my first 5 years of life were they weren't very strong. They weren't geared for kids. They were geared for your older patients who may have diabetes or other challenges that made them go into and use a prosthetic. So for me, when I got my first pair of legs, they were heavy, they were uncomfortable, and I couldn't really have too much mobility in them. So the thought of taking them off and jumping into the water was for me was a no-brainer. And when I first started swimming, I actually joined a swim team here in Southern California, and I was the only kid on the team with a physical disability. So I stood out like a sore thumb. Everybody knew who I was. They all referred to me as the boy with no legs. And it was just an easy way to identify me. And through that all, I really did not like that term. Of course, I smiled and I played along with the role, but deep down inside, I knew that I was more than just a boy with no legs. So that's really when I set my first goal. And my first goal, like I said in the beginning, was to beat a kid with legs. And it took me about 6 months to finally accomplish that goal. But once I did, I remember it being a feeling that I've never experienced. It was a feeling of accomplishment. It was a feeling of confidence, and it was a feeling of breaking barriers and not necessarily listening to the people who were around me. Being able to accomplish my first goal, which was to beat a kid with legs, it really gave me the idea that I needed to think bigger, and I needed to think all the way at the top. And that next goal for me was to go to the 2004 Paralympic Games in swimming. And my parents gave me a lot of knowledge about what the Paralympics were. It was for challenge athletes who wanted to take their athletic ability to the top. And for me, that's what I had in mind. I wanted to go to the top. And when I was 8 years old, I told my parents and everybody around me that I want to go to the 2004 Paralympic Games, and being able to work towards that goal. And 8 years later, being able to accomplish that goal, it really gave me a mindset of, it doesn't matter what challenges you have. If you set goals in your life, whether they be 1 year, 2 years, 8 years down the road, and you work towards those goals on a daily basis, you can accomplish and do anything. And that's really one of the biggest takeaways that I got from having this goal of going to the Paralympics. It was to prove others wrong, but also I wanted to prove to myself that I was more than just a boy with no legs. And I think being able to have that single goal, the first goal, which was to beat a kid with legs, I just didn't want to come in last, because really my whole childhood there was a lot of last. I used to come in last in swim meets. I used to come in last in running races. I used to come in last. I was picked last at all my sporting events in school. And that's just something that I didn't like, and I wanted to change. So with one goal in mind, it took me really all around the world.
I love that, man. I mean, what an incredible story. And exactly as you said, you've been able to go all around. And the interesting part to me is, even at a very young age, you had that first goal. Okay, you want to beat a kid with legs. And as you said, it took 6 months. How long along those 6 months, and then the next goal of going to the Paralympic Games, those 8 years, how many times did you say, I might not be able to do this?
Absolutely. I think, we are all human. And it's very easy to portray being a positive, upbeat person 100% of the time. And there are people who can do it. But for myself, I definitely had a lot of ups and downs throughout that journey. And even a short goal, which my first goal, which was to beat a kid with legs, in that 6 month span, I went back to practice. I think I was training about 5 days a week, an hour a day. And throughout that time, there were plenty of practices where I just felt like I wasn't getting stronger. I wasn't getting faster. And that ultimate goal of beating the kid next to me just seemed to be almost impossible. But I can definitely say that hard work pays off. And to be able to think about your craft, think about what you're doing in the water, and think of new ways to become faster and stronger, I think has allowed me to accomplish that goal, and to have a longer set goal, such as making the 2004 Paralympic team. That's when I was in middle school and I was in high school, and that's right around the age that we start to think about what we look like and how other people view us. And for me, I really went through a hard time when I was in high school, being comfortable with who I was. And I was very uncomfortable being the boy with no legs, even though I fought as a young kid to destroy that image that people had of me. I still viewed myself as the boy with no legs. And going through high school, kids can be very cruel. And I had a lot of bullying, and I had a lot of kids making fun of me when I was in middle school and high school. And I think that really, had the power, had the potential to take me off track of my goal, which was to go to the 2004 Paralympic Games.
What now with this postponement? What was that first like, especially something that's been such a constant, every single 4 years, what you're going to do, you're knowing why you're going to do it, especially in a sport like swimming. The training is very specific to the day, right? You know exactly what you're doing on a daily basis for this quadrennial, this 4-year period leading up to the Olympics, or Paralympics in your case. What was it like when you heard, hey, we're going to have to postpone these Olympic and Paralympic Games, most likely for a year, but especially in the beginning, we really didn't have a set date coming out yet?
Absolutely. I have been involved and been on the national team since 2002 when I was 13 years old. I won my first gold medal when I was 15 years old. And the next 15 years was my life. It was dedicated to my sport and my craft. And after 2016, after my last Paralympic Games, I made the hard decision to try something new and try something different. So I ended up moving out to New York City. I ended up working full-time for the New York Roadrunners, also doing a lot of private swim coaching and working at a triathlon studio. And as I was in New York City, kind of working a 9 to 5, and really being no different than any of the big business people in New York City, as far as going through the routine of waking up, having to go to the city and going home, not necessarily focusing on my athletic career, but more on my personal development. I realized that I was still missing something. And missing that training, that part of being part of a team that has one goal in mind and is showing up on a consistent basis and giving 110%. I missed that dearly. And I was not able to find that in my work. I was not able to find that in the lifestyle that I was living. And as soon as the COVID-19 hit, being in New York City, everything shut down, and I ended up having to work from home back in March, and I think it was in April or May when they announced that the Olympic and Paralympic Games would be postponed the whole year. Now, I was not planning on even making a go for Tokyo. I made a decision back in 2017, 2018 that I didn't necessarily want to do it. I just felt like it was done and done. I just felt like I've done that for a number of years. It's time to do something different. But like I said, deep down inside, I did miss it. And so when that postponement came out, within a week, I was fully committed to making that Tokyo team. And I didn't know how I was going to do it, because obviously all the facilities are closed across the country. I was not able to find a pool, which as a swimmer is very important. And I didn't know if I would even be able to do it. But that's one thing that I love about goals and challenging yourself, is that even if you don't see a clear path to that goal, you're going to have to make one. Us Olympic and Paralympic athletes, we live our lives every 4 years. And it literally is one opportunity every 4 years that we have a chance to make a name for ourselves, to elevate our platform, to reach people across the globe. And there's a lot that goes into it. It's not necessarily just waking up and jumping in a pool and you're washing your hands and you're done and done. It's every action that you make outside of the pool that counts. That's gonna get you closer to your goal. And to have the games postponed the whole year is unheard of. And for me, I don't want to say it's an opportunity, but it's a chance for me to go back and do what I love. And
now you have the chance to make your 5th Paralympic Games, which is just an incredible number. I love it. You got one hand, you got them full. You already got 5 medals. You might as well make it 5 games, see if you can win another couple. But I think it's incredible. You also have some world records. I think I forgot about saying that in the beginning, so sorry. But I think
I can definitely say, Michael, that 31 years old now. I've been doing competitive sports for more than half of my life. I've dedicated myself to the Paralympic movement and the movement of adaptive sports and adaptive challenge athletes around the world and the country. And, world records are great. Medals are awesome. But to me, after the games, people kind of forget who won the silver and the bronze and sometimes the gold. They start to think about the next one. And winning a gold medal is awesome on the day. It really gives you the feeling that you've accomplished your goals, and that's probably one of the best feelings that an athlete can feel, or a person can feel. But for me, like world records, someone's going to go faster than you regardless. It was sometime soon. Whether it's next year or in 20 years, there's going to be someone faster. That's just human nature. And I can honestly say that one of the coolest things that for me, being who I am, what's given me the ability is to being able to motivate and inspire the next generation of kids. And to me, there's nothing better than, nothing greater than being able to inspire somebody, because you inspire them to inspire somebody else, and it's just a snowball effect. And for me, growing up, I never had any role models. I never had somebody who I can look to as an example on how to ride a bike, on how to walk with two prosthetic legs, on how to run with two prosthetic legs. And so I really had to figure a lot of that stuff out on my own through trial and error, and just never really given up. And so now I'm in a position where I see these young athletes who some of them are 5 years old, some of them are 10 years old, some of them are already graduating high school, who I've met when they were 5 years old. And to hear them say that, that I've played a part in their role on developing as a person and an athlete is much more rewarding than any gold medal or world record can bring.
I think that's incredible, man. And a couple of the places that you can help do that through, I know your friends, as your shirt and your hat says, the Challenged Athlete Fund, right? And then you also have some friends over at Athlete X Impact, where you're able to then inspire athletes and inspire others. So tell us a little bit about those partnerships that you have that allows you to, again, accomplish this mission of helping and inspiring others.
Absolutely. Yes. So I am an ambassador for the Challenge Athletes Foundation, and I've been an ambassador since I was 8 years old with them. So I've been working with this foundation for a long time, and it's an organization that gets people to the starting line. People who have a physical challenge and need some type of support to get to the starting line, whether that be a running leg, a racing wheelchair, or adaptive sports coaching, whatever it is. We want to see more challenge athletes around the world get to that starting line so they can experience the joy of getting to that finish line. And as you said, I'm also involved with Athlete X Brand, which is an organization that focuses on athletes after they're done with their sports and after they're done with their competing. Because you can ask any of my Paralympic and Olympic teammates, what's challenging about being an athlete? And they will tell you a lot of times that it's not necessarily challenging being an athlete per se, but the challenge comes when they're done being an athlete and what comes next. And I can say one of the hardest things about that is, we dedicate our lives to our sport. We live our lives once every 4 years, and we eat, breathe, and sleep our sport. And we look forward to representing our country on the medal stand and at the games. And to come to the realization one day that you will no longer be able to athletically keep up with these young guys who are coming in and taking your spot. And so when we're done with athletics, when we call it quits and we retire, we're almost in a world of unknown. We don't know what we're good at. We don't know who we are, because we've always identified ourselves as an athlete. And to be able to provide athletes with the resources and tools and connect and network with other organizations and companies around the country enables them to find out what they want to do essentially when they grow up. And I always say, being an athlete, I'm living the dream. But when I have to grow up one day, that's going to be a challenge that I've already experienced a little bit by being in New York City. But to be able to help other athletes who might not know where to go or what to do is very, very rewarding, because those athletes are going to help recruit and inspire the next generation of athletes coming.
You're incredible, Rudy. And where, if people need a little juice for their day, where can they find you on social media so they can check some of that out?
Yeah, so my Instagram, Rudy Garcia-Tolson, and I also have my website, RudyGarcia-Tolson.com. Reach out. I'd love to hear from you, and always cheering for you on.
And we're always cheering for you, man. Thank you so much, Rudy. Really appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Michael.